Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Only Stupid Answers. This is the show where we answer your questions about movies, TV shows, comic books, legacy characters. I'm your host, DJ Wooldridge, and with me today is Sal. Hey, Sal.
Hello.
Oh, my goodness. You may know Sal from Comic Pop and Comic Pop Returns and all the other shows he does with me. How you doing, man? How are things?
I'm doing well, man. Very excited to be here. Thank you.
You know what? Thank you. Thank you. Because this will be a fun, like I told the people that watch live, if you want to watch this live, you can do that over patreon.com/onlystupidanswers. Telling people to watch live, doing something a little bit new, recording these episodes with you. And I thought this would be a good opportunity to just go down rabbit holes that I'm like, shit that I want to talk about with my friend Sal.
That sounds good. Yeah.
We're always going on tangents. What if we just put the tangents? What if it was, oops, all tangents? What was
Perhaps a subject will emerge.
Well, a subject did emerge when I was thinking about what I wanted to talk about this week, and it's because over Christmas, I believe it was my parents got me this Green Lantern Kyle Rayner omnibus that I've been powering through, and I've been genuinely like it's very readable for it's like 30 years old now, and I'm like, there's some stuff in it that's dated, but like it is very readable, and I was like, yeah, man, I love Kyle, and it got me bummed. I am overall excited for the Lantern show. The actor they got to play Jon Stewart is from a movie I love called Rebel Ridge. He's fantastic in it. When they're like, yeah, we're thinking of this guy for Jon Stewart, I'm like, yeah, sign that contract. That's your guy. That's the dude to do it. So as excited as I am for that, I am bummed that like, man, I'm never going to get my live action Kyle. There was a moment, if we made a live action Green Lantern movie in the 90s, maybe it could have been Kyle, or the early 2000s.
Oh, it would have been Kyle.
Yeah.
No, the Green Lantern movie in the 90s, like 99, would have been that like all the lanterns are dead.
Yeah.
Hal's the bad guy, Kyle's the hero.
Yeah.
That would have been the movie.
So anyway, reading it, I was like, I want to talk about it. Especially, I went to the thing that personally made me motivated. The topic reason is we're getting a Captain America movie with Sam Wilson as Cap instead of Steve Rogers. So, legacy characters are on the brain. Some of the best Spider movies around right now feature Miles Morales. And it's
for now,
and so I thought that'd be interesting. But before we get into that, I always like to start our episodes reading some comments from previous videos. And because of the timing of it, I decided to pull from. I did a reaction to the Fantastic Four trailer, so I'm pulling on my personal channel, DJ Talks Trash. You guys are watching this over at Only Stupid Answers. If you mosey on over to my personal channel, you can see my reaction to the Fantastic Four trailer. And these comments are pulled from that. We got another clever username, 992. Yeah, you even had to put numbers behind your ironic username. I love it, man. I hope the reason for the different realities is that they survived being erased by Kang by going through dimensions, and they belong here, here being the main MCU, but are not in the sacred timeline, just like the mutants who couldn't survive being erased from this reality, as they didn't have Reed or Doom like super geniuses or whatever. I don't care now that I think about it. Just be good, please.
Yeah, that's where I am. I don't care. Like, I was very much, I think you and I have both been like, boo to another universe, because it's such a weird and vexing idea.
Yeah.
And then I saw the teaser and I'm like, I love the aesthetic. I love the theme. I love the concept. Like, and especially because like, it feels like a movie about something, as opposed to it being just like Marvel product A42.
Yeah.
Like, it's just like interesting, like there's that, and people picked up on it. Like, not just me, people picked up on it, where it was like, when Reed is walking this character through the Baxter building, and he's like, Sunday we have dinner every night, and there's that ominous music.
Yeah.
We're like, what's going on? Kind of Stepford-y, creepy going on. And I'm like, yeah, well, like the 60s are very like whitewashed and very idyllic and hopeful about the future, but like underneath the surface of America, like it was anything but. And at the Fantastic Four, like all American heroes, but like under the surface, like, are they an all American family, or are things like really tumultuous, and like having the whole damn world be like themed like that is kind of fascinating. I was like, that's a really smart idea to like make a movie about something, as opposed to it being just like, here is Iron Man, but it's 4 of them at the same time.
Yeah. I guess, and we'll get, this comment kind of touches on some of my feelings. The next one, Ton 509. I have been pro alt universe Fantastic Four since they announced it because I felt retro sci-fi 60s aesthetic would give the movie a unique vibe and visual identity from the aesthetically pretty dry modern Earth MCU, as well as just be fresh and bright and unburdened by any timeline or lore baggage. That being said, this trailer was not necessarily brimming with the 60s sci-fi vibes other than a cool car and some interior design choices. So my expectations are cooled a bit on that front. Also, the question of how are these going to get over to the main MCU is still a potential pitfall and a source of unneeded complication. I just hope they don't subject movie audiences to some overwrought hyperdimensional collapsing timeline event BS they're always pulling in the comics. Well, I don't know, but I have some bad news for you, PK.
Yeah, that's definitely what they're gonna do.
Secret
I mean,
Wars
no
is
matter what,
happening.
it's either Secret Wars or it's that like everything broke. I mean, like,
and I think I'm in a similar, like I have been, like you mentioned, I've been pretty like, I just think setting in an alternate universe, one, I have not liked how the MCU has tackled the multiverse. I don't think, truthfully, it's one of the reasons, as of this recording, by the way, so this is going to be coming out publicly a little bit later. Neither Sal or I have seen Captain America 4 yet.
that's true.
Yeah. So I don't know, but I am generally more excited for stuff like that and Thunderbolts than anything multiverse related. Because for me, the MCU movies that stay the most grounded, anytime the MCU tries to verge on cosmic or magic or multiverse, they just don't seem to have a strong handle on it, as opposed to like the Captain America movies, which are generally more grounded.
Yeah, they just don't have. They don't care. Like, it's not about anything. Like it's just reference character, return. For them, like the multiverse saga, which I think we called it that, like the audience. It's not,
I think they had an official brand. I think they did the official branding thing or whatever, but who cares?
I mean, I assume they retconned that in. I don't know if they opened with like, this is the multiverse saga.
Oh no, it was a few movies deep that they're like, by the way, this is what we're doing.
Like, that's not the best idea, because the movies people are most excited about. Like, I mean, I hope people are excited about Thunderbolts, but like Thunderbolts is about people here right now doing this, dealing with this.
Yeah.
I am more excited for Fantastic Four than I am for Cap, but we'll see what happens.
We'll see what happens. Yeah, I guess for me watching the trailer, and I said this in my reaction, nothing about it screamed to me that this movie needed to take place in the 60s. Like, if you're right, Sal, if the perspective is like, we're going to kind of talk about this idea of the nuclear family and how things weren't as clean, but that sounds like a more complicated thematic premise than Marvel almost ever does.
That's why I'm kind of like, good for you. All right. Like, it's also why I'm glad that the dude who made the Spider-Man movies isn't making this anymore.
Yeah. But I think, I just think there's, for me, the whole multiverse angle of it is just an unneeded complication, in my opinion. But we'll see. I do, like everybody else, I do want it to be good. I guess I was kind of hoping in my brain, I can't help but compare it to the Superman trailer, and the Superman trailer like moved me, and this is like, oh, it's another Superman movie. I got it.
Oh yeah, no. My wife was at work and she showed like a colleague, they were like, oh, did you see the Fantastic Four trailer? She's like, yeah, that's gonna be crazy to see like Superman ends Fantastic Four in the same month. And he's like, what Superman movie? Like, dude didn't even know there was a Superman movie, but saw the Fantastic Four trailer. And she showed him the Superman trailer, and he was like, oh, I'm seeing Superman.
Yeah,
like it was successful.
Other than
I hope the movie does well.
Yeah, other than the anecdote that he did not know that it existed, I like watching these. It's like, I think they're releasing the same lunch. I think Superman's going to eat Fantastic Four's lunch. I think it's going to be, but we'll see. We'll see.
I don't think so.
You don't think so? You think it's going to be Fantastic Four?
I think it will be Fantastic Four, but I also I want Superman to be successful. I think this is the greatest vehicle for Superman to be successful.
Mm-hmm.
I hope it is.
Yeah.
But the Batman didn't break $1 billion, and that was a brand new Batman reboot.
Yeah, but I think the Marvel brand is not at its height. And I wonder, when we talk to our peers, other comic book fans, they're obviously really excited for the new Fantastic Four. I wonder if general audiences give a shit about the Fantastic Four.
I don't
and
think
I wonder
they even know what the hell's going on.
Yeah, and I wonder if this trailer
confused.
would do anything to move the needle for them. If you're not a Fantastic Four person, are you like, oh, now I'm interested?
Yeah, no.
Yeah.
I promise you, though, people think this is a flashback. Like, they think this is a Captain America movie where it's like, oh, this is set in the 60s in the Marvel Cinematic Universe.
Yeah.
Like, I promise you, it's at least 50-50.
Yeah. All right.
Which it isn't, folks. It's another universe.
It's another universe. We'll see how it all shakes out. I also don't love, like, if we get Doom in this movie, it's probably going to be a post-credit scene, and it's like that.
Post-credit scene for Doom, yeah, because they're making a whole Avengers movie where he's going to fight Doom.
Yeah.
Or where Doom's going to fight the Avengers,
or whatever.
Which will be, I can't wait for Kamala Khan to fight Doctor Doom.
Well,
what?
This is where we could do a whole episode. In fact,
I do love Kamala.
We probably should. Yeah, and the actress is great. The one thing this Marvel has continued pretty much across the board to be good at is casting. We can debate the qualities of the various products, but Kamala Khan, Tatiana Maslany, She-Hulk, I think the casting has been pretty solid across the board. And
Same.
we should probably do a whole episode on this. You and we could fill the whole thing. But I do think that the Kang of it all, like, I think they missed an opportunity. I think they should have set Fantastic Four in the timeline. They should have had the Fantastic Four movies be their Avengers movies. So every phase, I think audiences benefited from that. Every phase, fans benefited from it. Every phase ends with an Avengers. This one, every phase ends with a Fantastic Four, and we're hammering Doom home so that by the time we get to Secret Wars, you give a shit about Doom.
Yeah.
But they decided the Kang route. And
did you hear Coleman Domingo talk about how he's like, oh yeah, no, Marvel offered me Kang?
Is he? Because I know right now he's the voice of Norman in the Your Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man cartoon, and he's like, yeah, I want to play Norman in the main one. I'm like, well, that's complicated now because we already did a Norman, but you're great. They would be fools to not get you into whatever role they can.
Yeah, absolutely. But he was talking about how he was offered the opportunity to recast. Like, they were like, we're looking for a new Kang. Yeah. Would you like to do it? And he was like, we were working on it. And then he was like, nah, I don't like how that feels. Like, it feels messed up. And I'm like, that's fair.
Yeah.
But like, that is in the face of what I had originally thought, which was like, oh no, Kang's out the door. Like, the second that any like major stuff became like a thing, I thought they just went and just threw it in the garbage, like the whole thing. Yeah. But apparently they were like, no, we'll recast. Like, we are neck deep in it. And it's like,
I can't remember who. Oh, I think it might be a friend of. I won't say who it is, but I was talking with a friend of mine, and we were talking about how, like, a lot of that movie was probably already prevised. So a lot of that Kang movie is probably just going to be subbing multiple Dooms for multiple Kangs. And we'll see. We'll see. I will say. Well, maybe I'm just speaking. My hype for Superman is way higher than anything Marvel's doing, but I'm also a Superman guy. So that's, I'm a Superman guy. So we'll see. We will see. But I will say that if you are looking for, instead of a movie that's looking back to the 1960s, maybe looking ahead for the 2060s, let me try and sell you on my comic book, Danger Boy and the Antagonist. If you go to dangerboycomic.com, I believe when this episode is dropping, the campaign will already be live. So you can go back at, if you're, unless you're watching this live on Patreon, you can go back at right now. Go to dangerboycomic.com, go to Kickstarter, type in Danger Boy. It'll come right back. It'll come right up. This is my attempt at pushing the superhero genre into the 21st century, trying like reimagining what superheroes can and should be, as Danger Boy and a group of outsiders, misfit outsiders, try to save their city from, quote unquote, the world's most powerful superheroes. That may not be quite as super as they seem. But we've got an incredible, we got the comic. It's a 44-page comic. It's more than double your average comic that you can get in the shop. It's going to be a high-quality product. And we've got amazing variant covers from artists like Tango and Tyrell Cannon and Vincenzo Riccardi. Sean Peacock is our main artist, doing incredible work. Here's some of the early inks from some pages that you're going to be seeing the full versions of if you go get the comic. This is classic Kickstarter. It's all or nothing. If you are excited about this, if you want to see, if you love superheroes or hate superheroes, but either way you want something new and different, I think you're going to really dig this book. And if you want to see that happen, we're not going to be able to do it without you backing it. There's opportunities to get drawn in the comic. If you're looking at Sean's art and you're like, I'd like to see that guy's take on me. I'd like to see what I look like living in this universe. That's a tier that you can get. You can also get copies of my previous comics, Hellbent and Chaos Theory, the full collections of those. So a lot of options, a lot of cool things you can get. And I do think it is a little hyperbolic to say something like, art, can help in times like, you know what I mean? Or if you're trying to, or it's a way to fight the power or whatever. But I will say, I do think there's a reason all these weird techno-feudalist goons, these tech oligarchs, are pushing AI so hard. They're defunding the arts. They're doing all those things because I think especially independent art is one of the few, like this isn't a character owned by any sort of company. So we get to like swing for the fences on what we're trying to say and what we're trying to do. And I think, they control Twitter. They've controlled Facebook. They're trying to get rid of TikTok. I think any opportunity you have, art in general, but anytime you get independent voices, I think it's important to nurture that. I try to nurture that myself. I'm working with indie artists and everything. People I admire, people that are doing some good work. So I've been calling this is the comic for our current dystopia. So if you want like some cyberpunk, kick-ass cyberpunk action adventure, superhero revisionist reimagining, go to dangerboycomic.com, support independent art, get a comic that you couldn't get on the shelves, that they wouldn't let you get on the shelves, and check that out. dangerboycomic.com. Thank you for listening to my spiel. Now on to the show. Speaking of moving things into the future, Sal, we're talking about legacy characters. For me, Sam Wilson's Cap in the movies for now. Part of the impetus was this for me was my favorite Green Lantern, Kyle Rayner. Do you have like a favorite legacy character?
Interesting. What an interesting question. Yeah, I don't think so. I do appreciate the legacy character, but I think when it comes to it depends on the definition, because like I don't love replacements.
Okay.
Unless they are earned.
Mm-hmm.
And even then when they're earned, it's like, sometimes I'm like, well, their story isn't over yet.
Yeah.
But like I love when when Robin became Nightwing.
Yeah.
And that's like the epitome. Like that's like the best case scenario is like an iconic character like Robin existed for this many years, was created in the 40s, in the like 40 years later going like, well, this is ridiculous. They're not going to be 13 forever. They're an adult now. And they have a whole character arc and they have a whole like new identity that is not related to Batman.
Yeah.
Like that whole thing is fantastic. I really appreciate like all the work that they did in the 90s where they went, oh, we should stop being precious. When they were like, here's like we killed Superman. Now all bets are off, like the replacement era was really, really like fundamental and formative. Like I think there are people who prefer Ben Reilly to Peter Parker at this point.
Yeah.
Or Miles Morales for that matter. But yeah, I don't have like a favorite character who's like, oh man, I loved the new version of that guy or girl for that matter.
Yeah, it's funny. And maybe it's because I came of age in the 90s in the replacement era, but it's like, I do like this idea of refreshing the brand. I think a good example of this was Star Trek: The Next Generation, where it's like,
oh yeah,
Paramount's like, we need another Star Trek, and Gene Roddenberry's like, I'm going to reinvent it. I'm going to give you the anti-Kirk with Picard. I'm just going to totally in fact, I'm going to put a moratorium on bringing any of those characters back except for Bones in the pilot. So they have to wait until I'm gone to bring Spock into the show and stuff like that. And for me, my favorite Green Lantern is Kyle. I love Ben Reilly. I don't know. I don't know that I like him more than Peter, but I am at a place where it's like, if you told me we're going to let Peter be happy and married and put him on a shelf and Miles is now Spider-Man. You and I have had this conversation. I think there should be, in any given universe, there should be one Spider-Man. I am, however, okay if we decide for now that's Miles. You know what I mean? Like, I'm cool with that. The one I don't like is that Miles and Peter in the same universe in the same city at the same time. That one's like, no, there's one Spider-Man.
It gets crowded.
Yeah.
I do. It turns out I do have a favorite legacy character. Now that you mentioned it, when you mentioned something, I don't remember what it was, but like Batman Beyond.
Yep. That we got. So I asked in the Discord, I asked people what their favorite legacy characters were. What is it about them? Says Terry McGinnis, my boy. And then he's like, if that counts, if that counts, I'm like, oh, Terry 100% counts.
100% counts. Yeah. Oh, that's what it was. It was the fact that like Roddenberry was like, oh, I'm just going to like, if you want more Star Trek, here's a new Star Trek.
Yeah.
when like Warner Brothers went, we want young Batman.
Yeah.
They're like, okay, well, it's going to be in my universe.
Yeah. They're like, we're not going to give you teen Bruce Wayne, Buffy knockoff. No, we're going to... I was just talking about this on another friend's show. That is one of my favorite producer note stories, where the producers, the studio note, excuse me, one of the studio note stories, where they gave them an awful note. We want teen Batman.
Ugh.
And that's just all. It's just like, what do you want? And somehow the magic of Bruce Timm and Paul Dini and that team were like, they made it into something that's iconic. That like for fans of that show, it's like, yeah, the costume is great. Terry is great. I like Terry. I like Bruce fine. I do, however, think we've been telling Bruce stories for almost 100 years now. So it's like, Terry might be my favorite Batman. I do like the Grant Morrison run with Dick Grayson as Batman, and I wouldn't hate it if he was still Batman, just because I don't think we got enough juice out of that. My one issue with Dick as Batman is Dick made his, like you said, he made his own identity separate of Batman, and I wouldn't want him to lose that. You know, I wouldn't want to lose Nightwing.
Yeah, no, because I know that like people suggested maybe Tim Drake could become Nightwing, and no. Like let them. If we're gonna follow, if you appreciate and respect what Nightwing did, you got to let that be the standard.
Yeah.
Where it's like, if Tim does Tim is the only Robin who wanted to be Robin.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Tim is Robin.
Yeah.
Like, as far as I'm concerned, Tim is the only one who actually chose to be Robin. So the Red Robins, the Drakes, the bullshit, I'm out. But, you know, Jason became Red Hood.
Yeah.
I think Damian thinks he's going to become Batman, and I hate everything about it.
Yeah.
But, like, let Dick be Nightwing. Let them grow up. That's all you need. Like, go in that direction.
I think you're right. You know what? I think you're right. I think there's a couple things you could do with Tim, because going with legacy characters, who's my favorite Robin? Tim's my favorite Robin. And I do feel like there's a little bit of that millennial syndrome in a lot of this, where I was watching every once in a while, you know, I try to educate myself. I was watching a video on economics, and they were talking about how the boomers are clinging on to power until they can no longer function.
Yes.
And one of the knock-on effects is like, yeah, we'll eventually get new people once they die. But the problem is, if you're a millennial, they're going to skip right over that generation, and it's going to be Gen Z, because that's how long the boomers have been holding on. And I feel that same, like if we were to introduce in this new Lantern show with John and Hal, if we were to introduce a new one, it'd be Jessica Cruz. It wouldn't be Kyle. We're just going to skip over the Kyle era. And it's like, but that's my era, man.
That's right. Of course.
Yeah. And it's like, I feel it. And it hurts me. It hurts my heart. And I feel like because we're keeping in the DC stuff, because I think we could talk about this. DC is where we get most of our legacy characters. Marvel doesn't do that as much. But we're already getting that with, like, okay, so we're supposed to be getting this dynamic duo movie with Nightwing and Red Hood, with Jason and Dick. And it's like, we're not, and Damian's supposed to be in Brave and the Bold. It's like, we're going to skip Tim, aren't we? We're going to fucking, the best Robin, we're going to skip.
They skipped him in the animated series, because, like, while his name is Tim Drake, he is Jason Todd.
Yeah.
It's the Jason Todd origin. It's Tim Drake's awful red suit, but, like, it is all Jason. The Tim thing is, you know, you could tell they don't care.
Yeah.
Like, they're not, like, trying to... He's Tim because they didn't want to deal with the baggage of Jason.
Yeah, and it's a bummer, because I think Tim is great. And I think you're right that I think what they could do, and I think Damian as Robin was and is most interesting when he is Dick Grayson's Robin. That's the dynamic. That's what Grant Morrison was doing. He's like, what if Batman was fun and lighthearted and Robin was grumpy and whatever? So it's like, maybe Damian should stop being, maybe he could be Nightwing's sidekick. Maybe that's a story where Nightwing gets a sidekick that's Damian, and Tim gets to go back to being Robin until we can figure out, like, I think it's cool that Dick got to be Nightwing and Jason got to be Red Hood, and we just need to figure out what that is for Tim. But until we do that, keep him as Robin.
Well, but the problem arises when you start really, like, pulling those threads, because then it's like, well, isn't Tim the same age or older than Dick was when he chose to be Nightwing? Like, shouldn't Tim be his own thing now anyway?
Yeah.
Like, and the answer is yes to all these questions. The answer is yes to everything. Like, yes, Tim should be Nightwing, or yes, Tim should be Robin, but yes, also Tim should be his own thing. Yes, they're going to skip over him. Yes, there's no audience for him.
Yeah.
Like there
is
no
Sal. I'm
room
right
for
here.
Ted.
I'm right here, Sal.
I know, right? Like, yeah. But like, it is the millennial skip.
Yeah.
We're just getting like, I mean, I cite Bart, Cassie, Kyle, everyone who is from Ben Reilly for that matter.
Yeah. Yeah, Ben Reilly. But we did get a little bit of Ben Love in Spider-Verse. Of course the whole Clone Saga is not as beloved. You know where we really feel that skip is. Give me the sensational Spider-Man suit in your Spider-Man games. Insomniac, what are we doing?
Weird they didn't do that. It's weird. It's weird. We got Scarlet Spider. We got his hoodie suit, but not the sensational suit.
That's crazy to me. I don't know why we keep doing that. It's such a, for me, maybe it's nostalgia. It's such a cool suit.
It's a good suit. They worked really hard on it, and it's so good they gave it to Mayday.
They gave it to Mayday, man. So I asked in the Discord what are the people's favorite characters, and Austin A said Wally West. They're legacy characters: Wally West, Kamala Khan, John Stewart, my first GL. Could also be interesting to discussion about how there are some legacies we forget are ones, citing Barry Allen and Hal Jordan from the Golden Age Flash and Green Lantern. And that's a good point. And we're going to circle back to that. Jack Kidd says, I think there's something interesting to say about the ones that reinvent the whole character, like Blue Beetle. You had Darren Garrett that was magic, Ted Kord that was tech, and Jaime Reyes that's alien. All with ties, but completely different versus one like Robin, where each one brings a different flavor or take on the new mantle, and then take on a new mantle like Nightwing, Red Hood, whatever Tim Drake is going by this week. Yep. Jake Hefner says John Stewart, since the Justice League cartoon, he was my first Lantern and my intro to the GL Corps at large. He will always be my Lantern. And Jason Todd, I always thought he was the quote cool Robin and had an interesting story. Seeing him go through all that he did, turn into Red Hood, become a brutal villain, and then eventually find his way back into the Bat family is really cool to me. So I want to circle back to this idea of what legacy characters stick and what don't. And I think part of it is how these characters get more tied to big brands, because I don't think you could pull. So what he was referencing in that comment is the original Flash and original Green Lantern in DC Comics were Alan Scott and Jay Garrick, respectively. And they didn't sell. They weren't selling. And then, Marvel came in and kind of reinvented what things were doing. So they're like, it's the space age. It's a new era. So instead of them, we're going to reinvent these characters as more sci-fi specific characters. So Green Lantern went from Alan Scott to Hal Jordan. Instead of a magic lantern, it was a space. Was part of the space police. Barry Allen got struck by lightning with chemicals, and now they're the guy. And Barry Allen continued that trend by his best story, dying in Crisis on Infinite Earths, and then being replaced by Wally. And Wally lasted for good 20, 30 years.
Yeah.
And the turnover rate, we don't have that now. I think the closest we have now is, especially because of the movie, I understand the love for Ted Kord. Jaime Reyes is just a more iconic. He fits into the DC universe better. He's more needed. Blue Beetle, Ted Kord Blue Beetle is just another Bruce Wayne, Batman, Oliver Queen. He's just another one of those. Jaime Reyes, there's a spot for him. And even then, he's the one that gets the movie. He's the one that when we make a Blue Beetle comic, if I were to say Blue Beetle to an average person, he'd be the one they'd think of.
Yep.
But we still can't. Ted Kord's around. Does he need to be?
No. I mean, he wasn't for a while. They brought him back. I think there's a place for Ted, but I don't know what it is. I don't have a solution for him because I do love him. I like how he looks. I like his design. I like his attitude. Yeah. But there's very little to do with him. Yeah. And that's kind of an issue. But it's also there's such a thing as just not, as opposed to being well, we got to, no one's doing anything with Ted. We should kill him. It's well, just don't do anything. Yeah. If nothing's going on with him, then just leave him alone. I think that was the biggest mistake. So I guess I've been feeling nostalgic like everybody else. And I went back and read some of the early Ben Reilly Spider-Man stories. And I think the fatal flaw of those were having it. Ben should have just stayed a clone. The idea that actually Ben is the real Peter Parker. I'm like, that's you just turned off every Peter Parker fan. That is literally Ben. When I turned on him. When I decided I hate Ben. If you just said he replaced him. Yeah, if you just said Peter's around,
He's just not Spider-Man anymore. He might give
Right.
Ben advice. He's going to be happy and married. And all what we keep trying to do is have Peter be young and unmarried and unburdened by all this stuff. That's what Ben is now.
Yeah.
I think there would have been less stigma around the character.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think people, because I think people were okay with Ben. Like,
Yeah.
at least he was frustrating because, like, no one asked for any of it. But,
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
when he showed, it was when he took Peter's place. That was my problem.
Yeah. And I think and what's interesting going back on those Kyle Rayner stories, I can understand why Hal fans, Jeff Johns, might not like that story because like they really commit to how. So for people that aren't familiar with Kyle Rayner, sorry everybody. Hal Jordan was Green Lantern. This was again, like Sal was saying, 90s. We're kind of reinventing stuff. It was part leading into the 0 Hour event. Coast City, Hal's hometown, was destroyed by Mongol and I think Cyborg Superman.
Yep.
And he loses his goddamn mind. And what's interesting reading that story is it actually really holds up. There's a whole issue where he's like, I have this ring, and if I have the will enough, I can do anything I want. And he starts rebuilding Coast City like a construct version of it.
Yeah.
And starts having conversations with people that are clearly in his own mind, but they're like, "Why didn't you save us, Hal?"
Oh my God.
And so
yeah.
he's like, "All right, you know what? All I need is all of the power." And so he tears a swath through the Green Lantern Corps, kills the Guardians, absorbs all the power battery, and it drives him completely out of his mind. And then Kyle Rayner gets the last ring. And I think for me, this was a good onboarding pitch. All the Green Lanterns are gone. There's this one ring left. Ganthet gave it to the first person he saw, who just happened to be. He's not a Air Force guy. He's not a cop. He's just an artist.
Yes.
And he's now Green Lantern, and he has to figure out He doesn't even know how the ring works, and he has to figure all this stuff out. As a kid, it's like, this is a great pitch. I'm eating all of this up.
Yeah.
And
like not only that, but you're also rewarded for not being on board because Hal Jordan, the previous guard, is a bad guy now.
Yeah.
So like you don't have to know anything about him. Hell, you could dislike him actively.
Yeah.
Because he's trying to stop your main character.
Yeah. And what I think is interesting about this, like this idea of committing to the bit, like there's something really powerful to me about the idea. And I guess we had this for a while. I think Kyle was the Green Lantern for maybe like 10-ish years.
Right.
Could you imagine a version of the Justice League where like, yeah, of our founding members, one of them is dead. Barry is dead, and he stayed dead. One of them became evil, and he's still evil. Like maybe he comes and helps us.
He's the Spectre now. Like he was the Spectre for like a while. That was his like status quo.
Yeah,
so it's like he's dead too.
Yeah, but it became like, but it's like that's actually compelling makeup of your team. Like, yeah, we actually have a not insignificant turnover rate, and like I wonder what that universe if we just committed to stuff. What if Bruce Wayne's back never healed and he was like the Justice League's guy in the chair, and there's a new Batman, maybe not John Paul Valley, but like, and maybe not Dick Grayson, maybe somebody else, but like it just bums me. But then this hero comes out with a new movie, and so now we need to get back to the status quo.
It's a real problem. Like it's not a real problem, but it's like it's not a problem that the industry is willing to solve or is looking for a solution for.
Well, and I wonder, like, we're actually in a pretty, part of this was the new Cat movie, and that is a pretty unique situation where they are committing, and part of it is because they don't want to keep paying Chris Evans money, and he probably doesn't want to keep doing it. But we're in a position where we're actually playing out. And again, this isn't a millennial skip because this wasn't a 90s replacement, but we're jumping over my personal favorite version of Cap, which is the Bucky Cap. He's got a cooler costume. His relationship is a little more complex with the Captain America mantle. But I liked Falcon and Winter Soldier, and they sold me on the idea of Sam as Cap. So I'm not against it. But skipping over it again. But yeah, it's interesting that this is a situation where actually I don't think we're gonna. Especially with everything going on, I do think we're gonna get a full reboot post Secret Wars. But at least for now, it feels like we're committing to maybe letting a legacy character play it out.
Yeah, I mean it's unheard of to have like a a movie franchise like Captain America, 3 Captain America movies, all of them starring Steve Rogers, all of them about his like growth and evolution and change.
Yeah.
And now he will be, this is the next, like Captain America 4 stars someone else.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like he's a character from the previous movie, so at least he's like been there.
Yeah.
But it's not Captain America's son or anything like that. It's just it's a new guy and he's got his own adventure, and that's like it's very rare to see that in a franchise like this.
Another thing that'll make that really interesting and complicated. We're talking. See, it's before we've seen the movie, but this is coming out after we've seen it. But I'll be interested to see how they tackle like the 2 major plot points that get us from Civil War to this one happen in Avengers Endgame and Falcon and Winter Soldier, and it's like, well, that'll be an interesting. I guess audiences are trained enough at this point that they know
to be prepared.
Like,
yeah, because it's like, yeah, no, like who Cap is, his costume design, all that is from a show.
Yeah, yeah,
that came out like 5 years ago.
I am glad. Listen, we did the comics version of the Sam Wilson Cap. It's there. We did it, and now we can try other things because it's
apparently he hated it. Apparently he hated it was the hood thing. He was like Mackie had a real problem with that. Like it was just like uncomfortable. Sweat.
Yeah.
I was like, right on. I mean, yeah, like I was impressed they did the suit. It doesn't look great.
It doesn't look great yet, but we did it. Listen, we did it, gang. So now you got the comic accurate one. Here's what always stuck with me with. There's a few things that stuck with me. Why I was resistant to Sam Wilson Cap. One, I felt like it kind of undersold Falcon. Like I remember you'd see like little like trivia stuff like who's Captain America's sidekick? I'm like, well, it was Bucky, and they're like the Falcon. I'm like, Falcon's not a sidekick. He's his own guy. Like,
yeah, he's occasionally Captain America's partner.
Yeah, like what?
Falcon and Steve work together quite often, and it was like he was never his sidekick.
Yeah, and so like having him be the next Cap feels more like a. As if it's supposed to be a promotion, and I was like, that I feel like you're kind of underselling. Granted, I don't know the Falcon could carry his own book. Like I understand the business reasons, but like the optics, I didn't like it. I didn't like the optics of it, and to me, the costume, because I've talked to a lot of comic artists, and a lot of them talk about the character's silhouette, and it's like that's this. I'm going to pull up the image for the people watching live. This is the Falcon in a Captain America color swap. That's not. It's not like when Peter's swinging around in the Iron Spider suit, you're not like, oh, Iron Man. That's still Spider-Man.
Yeah, that's true.
So it's like I get he has the wings. You don't want to lose the wings.
You want to fly. If I can fly, I'm not downgrading.
Yeah. Yeah. So it's, and then the other thing, and I think the show tackled as well, is like, I felt like in the comics, I didn't really read the Sam Wilson one, so feel free to yell at me in the comments on this one. But it felt like, making a black man Captain America, there comes some stuff with that, and I was glad. What sold me on the show is Falcon and the Winter Soldier dealt with it, like really unpacked. Like, all right, what does this mean for me to be Cap? Is this something I want to do? I think a person that would have been interesting. It's like, what if you instead of Sam, what if you made Luke Cage? Cap, because Luke Cage already doesn't. I mean, he technically Power Man, but he never uses that shit. His power set is already similar to Cap's. Like that's a little bit of an easier bridge to cross.
I agree. Yeah. I agree. There's no way that he would ever do it. The funny thing is, like for me, I feel like one of my favorite eras of the Avengers is when Luke Cage was the leader of the Avengers.
Yep.
For a minute, and it worked out great. It fit him well, and it was exactly what you're like talking about. But it was an interesting conversation where it's like, no, Luke Cage shouldn't have to become Captain America to be a symbol of leadership.
Exactly,
just let Luke do it.
Yeah, and that's like, the thing. It's like you just made the argument. Well, Luke Cage doesn't really have a superhero name that he uses regularly. Yeah, but Luke Cage is the brand. Like he doesn't need it. He's Luke Cage, and I will say we do like to give. The comics community likes to give shit to creators like Bendis and Jeff Johns, and I think it's mostly just saturation. Like for both those guys wrote basically every book under those banners for a while, and so after a while you're like, okay, I got it. But to Bendis's credit, like I don't think Luke Cage would have the cultural cachet he does. I don't know if we get a new Luke Cage Netflix show without Bendis putting him in the Avengers.
Oh, no, 100%.
Yeah.
No, Bendis got Luke Cage on the map. Not that like Luke Cage didn't deserve it or that he never existed, nor did he not have his own series. Luke Cage had his own series, multiple series, in fact.
Yeah.
But Bendis put Luke Cage on people's radar.
Yeah. He articulated like, this is how this guy fits into this universe. This is where he goes. You know what I mean? Like this is, he's not like, he might be palling around in the Avengers in my run, but he's in line with Daredevil and these street level guys. Yeah. So it took me a while to get on board with Sam Wilson as Cap. I'm excited for the movie. Again, I do wish his costume looked a little bit more. Here's how I would have done it. I would have had him give him something that looks like the Cap costume and upgrade Red Wing, his little drone. In the comics, it's an actual Falcon. In the movies, it's a little drone. Have his whole wing harness be a drone so that he's doing Cap stuff, and then he can summon the drone that attaches onto him like a backpack and then fly. So you can kind of get the best of both worlds. But nobody asked me. They didn't consult me. Is there a legacy character that you're like, so for me, the two, I'm much more open to like let's put new characters in these mantles. I'm fine if we let Kyle run 30 years and now it's just like a cruise and we just keep trucking forward. Sure. The two that I drag my heels on are over DC. It's Superman. Like to me, Superman is Kal-El, Clark Kent, and in Marvel, it's Wolverine. Logan is Wolverine. And it might be because both those characters are functionally immortal that in my brain I'm like, no, those are those guys. Like I like Laura Kinney a lot. I think she's a great character. She's not Wolverine. Yeah. That's Logan.
Right. Yeah.
Like especially whenever you see posts that are like, the Wolverine in the MCU should be Laura Kinney. I'm like, no. Because I've still not gotten a movie where Logan hangs out with Peter Parker. Don't take that from me.
No, it's true.
Yeah.
But in the same token, I don't want Miles to take Peter's place before he's had all of his stories.
Yeah.
Not to disparage Miles in any way, but I think one of the worst, like at least one of my least favorites, and it has nothing to do with like any of the baggage that might be associated with it. For me, and it's a character. It's not like the Lobo replacement for the New 52. Like that's like it was never going to stick. It was a terrible idea to begin with. Nobody was on board. We're good.
Yeah.
It was Robbie Reyes.
Oh, the Ghost Rider. Yeah. Was it because of the car? Was it because of the car?
Car. Yeah. The suit, like where it's just like a throwback to Johnny, but also why?
Yeah.
It's a completely new idea. It's not.
Yeah.
The spirit of vengeance, not the demon. It's not any of that thing. And it's like, then you just made him a new character.
Yeah.
You're like, yeah, but like if I made a new character and I called him something else, no one would buy it.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a lot of like whiffs, where things didn't work. Like Eric Masterson is Thor. You're like, that was like,
I love Ponytail Thor.
Right? These are things that they tried and didn't work.
Yeah.
There's like 16 Spider Women.
Yeah. Well, and to your point, though, one of my favorite legacy characters, again, 90s baby, Danny Ketch, man. Danny Ketch is my Ghost Rider.
Yeah. He's so many people's Ghost Rider. And like, he's more Ghost Rider than Johnny because every version of Ghost Rider is just aping off of the design from Danny.
It's the same thing. Going back to the Tim Drake, it's like that costume is now the de facto Tim Drake's Robin costume is the Robin costume now.
Yeah.
We've gone back in time and we get rid of the trunks for Dick Grayson. Now it's the Tim Drake costume.
Yep. That's right.
Yeah.
Which I hate. I'm like, don't take away Tim's contributions. He's the first Robin to wear pants.
Yeah. He is the one. He did it. At least Tim is not done as dirty as Stephanie Brown, who we like forget in lineups. We forget. We just gloss right over Stephanie Brown. I guess she's a Batgirl now, so she gets to go hang out with the Batgirls.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right. Yeah, she's purple Batgirl.
Yeah.
And what's another issue I have? It's Nick Fury Jr.
Oh, that's dumb. The whole concept was just dumb. Like here's the thing. Here's what I kind of want them to do in the movies. Is because we're introduced to the Howling Commandos in Cap First Avenger. I was like, do what they always talk about doing with Bond, where Bond is a code name. Say Nick Fury is a code name.
Right.
And at the time, this was pre-Guardians 2. First introduce Kurt Russell as no eye patch Nick Fury from World War II, and he's the Nick Fury from World War II, and then all of us fans of Escape from New York will know, but he would look good with the eye patch, though. He doesn't have the eye patch because Sam Jackson gets the eye patch, but he would look good in the eye patch. Yeah. And then Sam Jackson takes the mantle he's just the next Nick Fury. And so he gets to be Nick Fury, and then and then you could have taken that matters less in the movies. It would have been get rid of old white Nick Fury, And then because then they have to like bend over backwards to give Nick Fury Jr. an eye patch too and all that. Like, come on.
Yes, they did. And it was like, your solution is that Nick Fury from the Ultimate Universe goes to the Marvel Universe. That's your solution.
You did that with Miles. I don't like that either, but you already did it. Just do it.
But you also could have done that years before Miles.
Yeah.
Because like there's a whole period in like Ultimate's history where Nick Fury is gone. And I think he went to the Squadron Supreme universe or something. Like he's just in another universe. It's like there's a history there of Nick Fury being someplace else. And it's like, just have him go to the Marvel universe and have him like, you know, either maybe he's in a SHIELD facility. Like they're like, we keep multiversal things like this over here.
Yeah.
Because, you know, you're too dangerous because you're a super spy.
Yeah. Because you're a Fury. You're a Nick Fury. We keep track of the Nick Furies.
Right. And eventually he just like works his way in and just becomes director of SHIELD. And it's like, that's fine.
The whole like he was secretly, that's some soap opera shit. He was secretly his son the whole time. Like, get out of here.
And that's why they like if you continue to call this character Nick Fury Jr., you will continue to like infantilize and like and never quite reach Nick Fury.
And especially since, and that's the other thing is I am not a big believer that the movies need to line up. Like main Nick Fury can just be white Nick Fury. And then Ultimate Nick Fury is the Sam Jackson one. And guess what, gang? That's going to be Nick Fury for everybody. The Sam Jackson Nick Fury is Nick Fury now. It just is. Yes. You know? Yeah. And so like, and I'm totally fine with that. It's just, but you're right. The Nick Fury Jr. thing, it's like, it makes him, you might as well call him Nick Fury number 2. Like, just call him Nick Fury, man.
No, Nick Fury 2 would be almost better.
Or just do what they do in the stupid movies, man. Just have the next issue like, wait, you look different, Nick. Well, they said shave my head, so I did. And now he's just this way. Like that's my big thing. Like going back to the Fantastic Four thing, and we'll start wrapping up. Going back to the Fantastic Four thing, every time I mention, I think setting the Fantastic Four in an alternate universe is dumb. And they'll be like, but how have they not been mentioned before? And I'm like, well, one, they don't have them get their powers until after Endgame. And also, guess what? Because Reed Richards doesn't have superpowers and isn't a billionaire, nobody ever mentioned him. But he was around. Like nobody ever mentioned Quentin Beck until Spider-Man. What was it? Far From Home. And guess what? He was there. We did a montage where he was around and everybody was like, okay. And then we all moved on.
Yeah. Everyone accepted that.
Yeah. I don't know that we need like some of it you need explanations for. Like some of it, like I've said this, I think they need to have a better handle on what their multiverse rules are, because Loki is contradicting, No Way Home is contradicting, you know what I mean? Like none of it makes any sense. But like sometimes you can just be like, oh, what is this character? They're a mutant. Mutants? I haven't heard about that. Yeah, we're talking about them more because they're showing up more, but they've always been around. Okay. And we just move on. I don't know that we need, like, everybody gets hung up on, like, how are you going to explain it? You just do. You just say it wasn't a thing. Now it is a thing. And then we move on.
Right. Yeah. No, like, don't make it overly complicated. Yeah. Nobody wants it to be complicated. Everybody is always like demanding it to be simple. And then the second that they're given an opportunity, like someone like puts a microphone in their face, they're like, what? Oh, and then they go through like these mental gymnastics to create these elaborate scenarios that fit in. And it's like, dude, life ain't nearly that like neat or uncomplicated. Like just do the thing.
Just do the thing.
Nobody wants you to go out of your way. Nobody needs a movie or a show to explain why you did something.
Yeah. Just do it. Just do it. It'll be interesting. We're in an interesting time right now. It'll be interesting to see where the genre goes and how it embraces legacy characters. I do want to know in the comments down below who all your favorite legacy characters are. Would you like more legacy characters? Would you think it should always be the same? It should always be Steve Rogers. Let me know in the comments down below. Sal, where can the kids find what you're working on?
Oh, swing by youtube.com/comicpop and youtube.com/comicpopreturns. And we even have a gaming channel at Comic Pop Plays. It's all under Comic Pop, baby. Yeah,
you have a gaming YouTube channel? Comic Pop?
Yeah.
Comic Pop? Well, check that.
Tiffany streams Tuesdays and Wednesdays normally. So check those out.
That shit out. I always play with the idea. Let me know in the comments if I did like a Twitch or something. Would you all be into that? Because I play pretty regularly, but that's my me time. That's for me, baby.
Yeah.
So we'll see. But if I can make money doing it, I got a baby. I need to pay the bills. I want to thank everybody for joining us. Please, 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 if you haven't already, go to dangerboycomic.com. Back the comic. That's the only way you're able to get any comics like this out from under the aegis of these other big brands. Something unique, something different, something that's going to challenge expectations. I think something that you're all really going to enjoy. dangerboycomic.com. Please go check it out. Go support it. And we'll see you all next time. Bye, everybody.